Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who was just flagged for looking at Patrick Mahomes the wrong way. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Fun game. Obviously, a lot of controversy there to end the night, and lots to talk about this week. Let's get into it.
Yeah, lots to talk about. I like the 13 weeks, 13 games. I have to say, I don't know, maybe NFL should just get rid of a couple teams.
I vote the Patriots.
Yeah, I think so. I think Patriots and Chargers. I think after that game, both just get rid of them. Let's not I don't know, dilly dally here. Let's jump into it, Kyle. We had a crazy Sunday night game. We always start off with the Sunday night game, and kind of, despite it being an awesome game, which it was, and we'll get into, I think we have to start off with just an absolute abomination to end the game with the referees. I mean, I'm not someone who criticized the refs too much, but there was a penalty on Mahomes when he was like easily still in bounds, but they just hit him because he was, I guess, close to the sideline. There was then I thought the worst penalty of the bunch, or the worst call of the bunch, was ruling that a player's forward progress hadn't stopped when like it clearly had. He was getting dragged backwards before finally going out of bounds, still ruled out of bounds, stopped the clock. There was a brutal missed defensive pass interference. There was, I think, a understandable missed Hail Mary pass interference. That one I didn't have an issue with too much, but just awful calls left and right at the end of this.
Yeah, and there was a few questionable ones earlier in the game too, but that last drive was just complete lunacy. The funny thing about the late hit personal foul penalty was that it was the referee way down the sideline, like 40 yards downfield, who threw the flag, and two of them looked at the play much closer and at a better angle and didn't pick up the flag. It was just so bizarre seeing that. Obviously, the pass interference was bad. I agree with you. The out of bounds thing was weird. I mean, there was a whole bunch of mess to this last drive, and it kind of just got weird. And I think, coupled with it all, I thought was pretty poor execution from the Chiefs on that part. So I thought overall it was a pretty weird ending to what it was otherwise a really good game. And, I really don't want that to like kind of be the message from this game, because the message of this game should be the Packers are kind of rolling right now.
Yeah, it just sucks when it's like this is an awesome game coming down to the wire, and then just like that happens. As a fan, It's just annoying.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And it feels like there's something we could talk about every week at this now. Like referees are
especially bad though.
Yeah, I agree. Referees are a part of the game, and it stinks. Mm-hmm. But like, when is the reckoning here? Like this was grossly mishandled. From the start of that drive to the end.
Yeah, and I feel like people always it's a hard game to officiate. People don't like when I say that these refs are the best in the world, but they are. They're the best in the world. They are like, watch college football or God forbid high school. You're going to see a lot worse refereeing going on. Kyle, you would know better than anyone. It's a hard game to officiate. If everyone in the stadium and everyone watching at home, millions of people know that it's a bad call, why can't the refs know it's a bad call? Like we figured out in real time. Just the sky judge feels like a totally perfect solution that makes everyone's life easier and wouldn't slow the game down. But I digress. That's all I have to say about the ref stuff.
Yeah. Do we go to robo refs?
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Oh boy. I think that'd be horrible, but we'll see. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you could do it. It works better in baseball than I think in football. Football would be tough to pull that off. But there was a football game played, Kyle, and I don't think the bad calls, yes, they changed the game, but at the end of the day, the right team won, I thought. Jordan Love, who would you rather have today, Jordan Love or Patrick Mahomes?
Today, Jordan Love, because he was better
yeah,
today.
I guess so.
He was dealing. Him and Christian Watson have looked really good the last 2 weeks. That is a duo. And yeah, I mean, this offense looks revitalized. The defense played well, I thought, in the pass defense. The run defense, not so much. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, I mean, this Packers offense all of a sudden has some life to it, and they kind of steamrolled in this game. There was not a lot of drives. There's a lot of long drives in this game that kind of whittled those down, and then all of a sudden it was the Packers out on top because they executed in that first half and looked excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. And the drive for Jordan Love, it was that 4th down and 1, throwing off his back foot, somehow dropping it into it's funny, there's like a still frame of just like the Chiefs like almost making a perfect perfect square like in between Dobbs going to making the catch, and then right after it he just basically threw a heat check up, strike the Christian Watson in the end zone. Watson did get hurt. That, hopefully that's not too bad, because as of right now, I mean the Packers are rolling, and I mean, I don't know. With the NFC the way it is, I don't know what this team's ceiling is. They're exciting to watch right now.
They're definitely exciting to watch. I mean, I don't know. Like, the issue is when you start talking about ceiling is you have to talk about, like, I think from what we've seen these last few weeks, I think they're one of the 7 best teams in the NFC. Given the structure and where teams are in the playoff picture right now, like, talking about their ceiling means they have to go on the road to San Francisco probably to win a game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they can do that. Like, I'm not going to say that. I think, like, if they played Detroit round 1, I think that'd be pretty interesting. I think that's definitely a possibility. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to be a fun team to play in the postseason. I think, I'd much rather play Minnesota, Los Angeles, or, Seattle look better this week, but I'd probably rather play them than the Green Bay team right now.
Yeah, well, I'm just going through it now. So as I do every week, I did my ESPN playoff machine thing. I currently have them as the 6 seed and have Detroit as the 3 seed. If all my predictions hold, which obviously they won't, because I'm just kind of going through it. I don't know. Beat the Lions on the road, and then assuming Dallas beats Atlanta and San Francisco beats the 7 seed, then now Green Bay would go to Philadelphia. I don't know. Possible. Could we see an NFC championship game with the Packers in it? And then they played the 49ers, and nothing's ever bad has happened when the Packers have played the 49ers.
And you're just writing in the 49ers to beat the Cowboys. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, I watched how they played first time, but okay, we'll get to all that. I don't know. Just feels. Yeah, you're right. Maybe Dallas wins, and then Green Bay wins. Green Bay Super Bowl.
It's not out of the realm of
just like Rodgers did it.
So let's put it this way: did you think Green Bay was very much the better, like you said, the better team won this game? How many teams in the NFC would you take over the first team in the AFC? Just 3? 2?
How many teams in the NFC do I take over the first team in the AFC? Well, the weird thing is I don't know who the first team in the AFC is. It feels like every division leader you could make an argument for being the first team in the AFC. I think San Francisco, and again, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. San Francisco, to me, feels like the clear Super Bowl favorites. So good job by you. I still don't know if, quite frankly, I think they might still be the only one I take over everyone in the AFC.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I think I'd take Philadelphia.
I think to me, there's no definitive Baltimore versus Dallas. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I get it. Because, yeah, I mean, this Kansas City team, I think we've just kind of, said, oh, they're the favorites in the AFC. Like, do we still call this team the favorites in the AFC at this point? Like, I would say the last 5 weeks, they lost to Denver, lost to Philadelphia, lost to Green Bay. They're down 14-0 to the Raiders before coming back and winning that one. And then they, won a 21-14 game to the Dolphins. That was kind of weird. And, the Dolphins, I thought at times looked the better team in that one too. So, I mean, like the last 5 weeks, this Chiefs team has been very unimpressive, not to mention our concerns from even going back to the beginning of the season. Like, how much do we give this? How much longer do we give this team the benefit of the doubt because it has Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? Like, when do we need to start to see the results actually show a team capable of winning the Super Bowl this season?
I mean, you're always going to say, well, it's possible with them, right? That's just always going to be a thing. You're always going to say, well, it's possible because they are the Chiefs. But I hear you in the sense of, like, they're not playing like the best team in the AFC right now. They're not playing better than Baltimore is. They're not playing better than Jacksonville or Miami, I don't think. The one caveat I would put on all of that, though, is they have an easier schedule than some of those other teams. I still think they end up, if they can beat Buffalo next week, I still think they end up as the 1 seed, and I think that matters.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes coming down the stretch. If they get the 1 seed, obviously, like you said, that does change a lot, but like, I don't know. Obviously, Baltimore and Miami still have to play each other. It's really hard to watch this team and say this team is bound for the Super Bowl. just right now, with the way I've watched them, I don't see it right now. But obviously, we've seen teams, we can go back to when Tampa lost to Kansas City in a big primetime game. And then all of a sudden that kind of started the stretch that led to them winning the Super Bowl. We've seen teams fix it late in the season, but there's a lot to fix here right now. And they're also getting hurt on defense. Their defense didn't look that good in this game, I thought. And, the things that we were relying on aren't working. And it's hard to see the path right now other than Mahomes is just, even better than usual.
Overlap 618 in the chat. This is Overlap. Question: would you rather have Philly and the Niners to win the Super Bowl or the entire field? Asking for my sports betting degeneracy self. I think give me two teams or the field. I think I'm almost always taking the field.
Yeah, probably. Still too much time for injuries,
And they're both in the NFC, so there's going to be a team in the AFC to come. I think if it's even odds, I think I take the field, but I don't think it's that far away from 50%.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, I think we just about touched on everything in this game. Anything else you want to add?
Only Mahomes missed some throws as well. Mahomes needs to be better.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interception, I think Sky Moore kind of stopped running on it, but I also didn't think it was that good of a throw, and there was a few other ones there. I agree. And then the management, I thought at the end of the game too, I know the penalty stuff is weird and that could be talked about, but they had 15 seconds left from the 33-yard line, and instead of throwing plays downfield, they try to get 2 cheap outs, and the Packers just had it covered. And it was just why not just take 3 shots to the end zone instead of trying to get 20, go from 25 yards. I didn't understand that late game execution.
Yeah, which is weird because Andy Reid usually really sharp in those late game moments. Let's move on. Let's go to a lot of good games to talk about, but let's talk about the best one: Chargers Patriots. Got to start off the show with this one.
Why are you doing this? This is not the second most important game of the week.
Everyone was clamoring for. I can't wait to hear you guys talk about Chargers Patriots. I'm doing what the people want, Kyle.
Who said this? Who actually said this?
This is all over
the second most important game of the week. Why are we talking about this? This is done. This was not a fun game to watch. Breaking news. I did not enjoy 1 second of this. The weather did suck. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt there. But this Patriots offense, the Boston Bruins have outscored the Patriots tonight. I'm fucking tired.
I mean, if they scored one, they would have outscored the Patriots tonight. That's not
yeah. Exactly. I'm tired of watching this. I'm done with this. The Patriots are bad. We know it.
Justin Herbert, you got to give him credit. Found a way to win. He's a winner now.
He is a winner now.
Earlier wasn't winning the games, but now he's winning. Now this is the Justin Herbert we like to see.
This might have been his best game of the season. Honestly, that W is just incredible.
Right.
There was more just hilarious drops in this game. Along with I thought Herbert. It wasn't obviously his best game of the year. The weather did play a factor, but yeah, I mean, this was gross. This was probably the least fun game of the season, without a doubt.
The team that scored the least amount of points this week was obviously the Patriots. Second least was the Chargers this week, who won. Quentin, I'll ask you, believe it or not, I didn't have a close eye on this one. Quentin Johnson, I see he got some stuff on the stat sheet. Did he look good in this one?
He had some moments, and then he had a touchdown that he just clearly dropped.
Oh no.
It was a pretty it was a hilarious drop too, because it's outbound throw to the sideline, and he could have turned upfield and probably got inside the 10-yard line, and it wasn't even just a drop. He bobbled it and then hit it back up in the air to himself and then hit it again and it hit the ground. It's one of those drops where it's oh boy. So yeah, that was a He did have some moments in this game, but there just wasn't a lot of offense, and it was pouring down rain. I don't know. The Patriots had the ball 4 times in the fourth quarter with chances to go down and score, and a couple times they end up getting in Chargers territory. And you just know watching the game, there's no way they're scoring a touchdown. There's just no way. And Khalil Mack had a big game in this one, and that's just kind of how things went. This was awful. I can't believe you put this the second game. You just ruined my mood the whole night. What's that?
Khalil Mack's hilarious. I think he's leading the league in sacks right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has 15 sacks. Like I don't know. He's clearly not playing that. Like he just, I don't know. He's racking up. I'm not saying he's bad or anything, but like he's clearly not the best like edge rusher in the league right now. It's just like he had that 5-sack game and then has had a couple other games like this.
Yeah. Like, and it's so funny too, because it's like Michael Onyenwu, I think, has allowed like 1 sack this entire year. And like Mac destroyed him in this game, just absolutely crushed him. And it was like 3 or 4 plays where he just absolutely pushed him backwards. It's like a 370-pound offensive tackle. He just moved. And it's just like, okay, if this is happening, we have no shot. Ramondre Stevenson got hurt, so now we have like no good offensive players. They was the last one standing, so it's over.
This is overlap. The Patriots have been throwing for weeks. The fix is in for the draft. Bet the mortgage on it with me, boys, and cash those bets. Even if they lose out, not sure they're going to get the number 1 overall pick overlap. But yeah, look, a good week for them to trying to get the number 2 overall pick at the very least. Let's move on. Sorry for subjecting you through that, Kyle. A lot of good games to talk about. I kind of think I want to go with a blowout, though, just because of what it meant, is the Niners-Eagles, as this was the game we were talking about heading into the week. This is the game to look out for. The Niners end up, it started slow. It did start slow. The Eagles were up 6-0, and people were acting like that was the game. But the Niners eventually scored touchdowns on 6 straight possessions to really end up kind of dominating this game. The 49ers, who lost 3 in a row in a weird way, have really bounced back and are in a position where, I mean, you have to view them as easily the favorites in the NFC, because the 2 other teams we're talking about, Philadelphia and Dallas, the Niners crushed both of them.
Yeah, they've beaten the brakes off both of them. I mean, what's the score of those 2 games combined now? It's like 84-29. Quick math there. Like, yeah, I mean, that's a statement. And they looked significantly better in this game. Like you said, they did start a little slow, but, the Eagles didn't execute to start the game. And, if you're able to slow down the Eagles in the red zone in those short yardage situations, you're probably going to have success against them. And that was a big thing early in this game. And they had success and held them to 6 points. And then from there, it was a Kyle Shanahan masterclass, right? I mean, like 42 points in the final 3 quarters is insane. Everything on this offense worked. Brock Purdy, 11.6 yards per attempt. They rushed for 5 yards per attempt. I mean, this was an ass kicking.
Yeah, it was that classic 49ers thing with the, like there's Deebo Samuel play where he broke a tackle and ran for a touchdown. Like there's play where like George Kittle gets wide open. It's like, how do you leave George Kittle wide open? But you look at it and it's like, because Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are running routes and you have to cover them. So then like it kind of makes sense that Kittle can get left wide open. Obviously you talked about McCaffrey, but we have a great super chat from John. Belichick has 100% exposed as a Brady baby. Kyle, people are coming after Belichick.
I've only been saying it all year that he hasn't been that good this year. So I don't think that changes his past.
Is he a Brady baby?
I don't know what that means, but no.
Is he is he the child of Tom Brady?
That would be a miracle to modern science.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Belichick was a great coach that maybe games passed him by a little bit. I think it's okay. Back to the Niners, Eagles. And for the Eagles, we kept kind of saying like they haven't been overly impressive, but hey, they're winning. When you lose a game like this, though, it's the voice in the back of your head of like that one year where the Steelers started off 11-0, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's that situation quite the same, because I think they're better than that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, to a lesser extent, we said the same thing about the Seahawks this year. We've said it about a few things. Like, the process has to differentiate from the results. The results are good, but you want to see a better process. And one of my things about, I wavered on it this week and picked Philadelphia because I thought they had some matchup advantages. But when San Francisco is playing their best football, they are really freaking good. Like this is the best version of San Francisco. We've seen the best version of San Francisco a lot this season, and they dominate teams, and they dominate from start to finish. We haven't really seen that from Philadelphia this season. I don't know, what is the best version of Philadelphia? Will we see it this season? And can they figure that out down the stretch of the year?
Yeah, because I mean, even like their I don't know. You could argue that one of their best wins of the season was against Buffalo. It's. I mean, I don't know. They beat Dallas. They've had some. They're a good team. They're a very good team. The Eagles could win the Super Bowl, and if like next week is such a big game because if they can pull off the win next week, schedule is easier against to play Dallas next week. Getting to one seed, I think, would go a long way. Make Dallas and San Francisco play each other in a divisional round. You don't want to have to play both of them.
Yeah, but of course, losing that, I mean that obviously opens the door for everything. And I I would love it if all these teams are 10-3. Honestly, that would be so fun down the stretch of this season to see these teams go at it. So we'll see how it we'll see how that shakes out next week. But yeah, I mean, I would have some concern from this game from Philadelphia. You got shut down in the run game this week. I know that they're Lane Johnson was out of this game, right? Like that's a big deal for them. And I think there are some concerns, but they're obviously still going to be in the conversation down the stretch of the year.
Yeah. Also, I got to correct myself. I said make Dallas and San Francisco play each other. Wouldn't necessarily work that way depending on how things break down because Dallas would beat a 5 seed. But anyway, let's move on. Why don't we? Plenty of stuff about that game. Let's go to I don't know. I feel like whatever. Let's go to the overtime game. Colts Titans. Colts find a way to win. This was a weird game. I know you picked the Colts, and so I was wondering, like, is this going to go? Finally ends up, there was a weird situation where the punter got injured on his second blocked punt of the game. So that was a tough situation and that was really kind of the difference in this game. And due to the injury, it meant that the holder was also, he's the holder as well, so he can't go. So Ryan Tannehill is the backup holder. And it seemed like he screwed something up with the hold. I wasn't sure what, but he told the kicker like that was my bad. So because of that, they missed the extra point to go up a point late in the fourth quarter. Ends up going to overtime where the Titans lose. It's just the Titans special teams never fails to disappoint. I guess never fails. Oh yeah, did they say it right? They always disappoint.
But I mean, even that, like, it was beyond that in this game too, because like you said, the block, the 2 block punts, there was the missed extra point because of that. There was the block punt that was returned for a touchdown, followed by the interception on the 2-point conversion attempt that the Titans returned for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. I mean, this game was absolutely off the rails when it came to special teams play. And it was both sides of the ball. So, I mean, both of those down the stretch obviously played a huge part because this game went to overtime. And, I mean, it was crazy until the very end. We also had the field goal followed by the touchdown in overtime. I mean, this was a wild, wacky, and, overall pretty fun game.
Yeah, and Minshew mania, right? He's doing enough. He's doing enough to win them these games.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give him his credit. I mean, he's hitting some big throws. I mean, some of those deep balls, he hit Alec Pierce for a couple big ones in this game, and those were impressive tosses. And he is a good backup quarterback. He is an upper level backup quarterback, and I think you could argue he's a top 32 quarterback. Obviously he's not going to be a franchise guy, but he stepped in, and for a team that was 4 wins last year, he's really kind of righted the ship.
Will Levis also was hilarious in this game. He had like a Rosencopter-esque play, try to get a first down. I think he got the first down. He also threw what was kind of a fumble, but it was one of those like fumbles that goes forward, and then he just chases it forward, and the defender kind of lost it, and he was able to recover the fumble at that point. So that was a weird play as well. I mean, Will Levis, he has real potential to be a funny quarterback.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And he was kind of funny in college too. I mean, this is just so here's my thing. Like, are defensive ends just really good at this now? Or are young quarterbacks really bad at fumbling the football? Because it seems like everybody sucks. Everybody seems to be really bad at this. Like the Desmond Ritters, the Will Levis, and all of these guys, it seems like every play, every game, there's 2 or 3 balls on the ground from these guys. And like, do these guys know how to tuck it, or are these defensive ends just really good at getting to the football now?
Well, some are bad at it. Like, I think those 2 guys are probably bad at it. But I also think there's more of an emphasis on trying to knock the ball out, where it used to kind of be like, oh, just trying to make a tackle.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So combination of both. I guess you could say, like, I don't know. It's something that's come to my attention. It seems like every game I'm seeing a young quarterback put the ball on the ground.
Huge week for the Colts, though. I think not just with
Yeah.
this, but the Steelers looking terrible. Browns losing another game. Like I think them being a playoff team feels more and more likely.
Yeah, I mean, so right now we have 5 through 8 are 7-5. So one team right now at 7-5 is left out. That is the Texans, who lose the tiebreaker on that stuff. You got the Broncos and Bills at 6-6, and you got the Bengals at 5-6. Chargers and Raiders at 5-7. That's probably your cutoff line if you say anybody makes it. The big thing for me this weekend, I know the Colts, you just did that whole thing about how nice it is that they're doing, and they're in this position now. This week kind of opened up the opportunity here for the Buffalo Bills if they're able to overcome some of these tough games down the stretch.
Yeah, the Bills can do it. They just have to win. Let's move on. Let's go to another interesting AFC battle with another AFC South team playing an AFC West team. The Broncos playing the Texans here. As this is one of those weird games. I felt like every time I looked up, I was like, oh, okay, Texans made a play. Like, they're going to win this game. And then I looked up again, and it was like a one-score game again. I felt like it's kept seeming like it was out of reach, and Denver just kept crawling their way back and hanging in it. And next thing you know, they're right back in it. It's one of those weird things where Russell Wilson was playing like really well to start the year, and everyone was saying he stinks and he should be they should get rid of him. And then I feel like these past few weeks he's actually played a lot like significantly worse than he has, and everyone's like he's back. Russell Wilson is fixed. So I feel like that's not really a thing. This game he's going to get some criticism for because of the box score and can't throw 3 interceptions. Although one at the end it was just trying to make something happen. But it was another weird game. Davis Mills came in for a second, but then CJ Stroud came back, which was good because I think we're all worried there for a second. There was Tank Dell. He got injured, and that looked like a bad injury, which is stinks because he's been a big part of that team. But the Houston Texans win this game, look to be in position to get a playoff spot as well.
Yeah, as you were saying, Tank Dell, another one of those rookie receivers that isn't Quentin Johnson, looking absolutely awesome, and that's a shame. And yeah, I mean, this was an interesting game, and like you said, I thought Stroud had some really just awesome moments in this game, and I think some mistakes too. I don't think this was obviously his best game, and it was a weird game because I was with you. I was like the Texans completely. I felt like outplayed the Broncos. Like the Broncos were 0-11 on third down, and like I don't know if I've ever seen a team 0 for 11 on third down and have a shot to win it at the very end of the game. They had a Hail Mary to win it at the end, basically.
It wasn't really a Hail Mary. I think they were inside of 20.
Yeah, it was in the red zone. So yeah, I mean, it was just bizarre that it kind of came down that way. And yeah, I mean, I didn't think the Texans. I thought the Texans looked a better team for most of the game, but I mean, at this point, this Broncos team is just like it's like a zombie team. They just don't die. This team has found this kind of weird way to play football, and it's kind of ugly at times, and it's not very exciting. But they're in these games all the time, or winning these games in an ugly fashion.
I mean, Russell Wilson doesn't know how to play a normal game of football.
That's true. Yes, without a doubt. Yeah, and yeah, I'm with you. He wasn't good in this game, and obviously, like you said, everyone was going to say he's back because they're winning games because QB wins is like the most important stat in the league, obviously. Right. There's some good throws there, and I think there's a lot of mistakes there too. And we'll see how they play down the stretch. I really felt like they needed this one, man. They needed to kind of keep that win streak going and stack up as much as they could.
I don't know. I think they're okay. Again, the almighty ESPN playoff machine. I still have them 10-7, which would put them tied for Cleveland, and they would get in with the tiebreaker because they beat Cleveland. So I think they're all right. This was a scheduled loss, but it was a real opportunity to pull off. If they won this, we'd be saying, oh yeah, definitely playoffs.
Yeah, I think so. It's just such a weird team. Like, I don't know. I'm looking at their schedule down the stretch. Like, it's not inconceivable to see this team lose to like the Chargers and Raiders twice. But like, I think they should win those games, but I don't know. Like, this team isn't explosive, and I just don't trust teams like that.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you. I think the playoffs, sure, but I feel like, it feels like the season is kind of gearing up for them to be like a 7 seed that gets, just trounced in the playoffs.
Yeah. We all collectively want Buffalo over Denver. Sorry, Denver fans, but we do.
Yeah.
But we're probably not going to get that.
What about, would you rather Denver or Indianapolis?
Indianapolis.
Okay, I think so too. But I don't know. If there were 8 teams, I would, give Denver my 8th slot.
That's fair. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Why don't we? Let's go to how about Lions Saints? This game, 5 minutes in, felt like it was over. The Lions went up 21-0 immediately, and then just kind of sat on the lead for a while. Scored a little bit, and they're able to kind of find a way to win because of that. There was a hilarious moment. So Carr gets injured. That's not the hilarious part. But then Jameis Winston comes in and just throws an interception. He throws an interception but the issue was another defender tipped it, and instead of it getting intercepted, it was caught for what was nearly a touchdown, and they scored a touchdown shortly after. Somehow, is a Jameis Winston playoff spot? Can that happen here, Kyle?
Oh my gosh, I hope not. I mean, that was is Jameis Winston like the most consistent quarterback in football in some galaxy brain thinking?
Yeah.
Like we know he's gonna do something just so chaotic. It's almost like it's almost on cue at this point. Like he's just incredible with it. I know, obviously Carr's injury was unfortunate. He had about as bad of a first quarter as I think I've ever seen. And I thought it was really, really ugly. Obviously the fans were booing him, and the talk online was even worse. I've seen a lot of Saints Twitter upset. I thought he bounced back, played better a little bit down the stretch of this game, and helping this team kind of battle back and compete in this game. But it's hard to win games when you spot a team a 21-point lead. So they played well down the stretch of this game, but this Saints team just continues to be befuddling because they just can't seem to put things together.
Yeah, it's weird. I think usually in a game, you end up feeling better about one team and worse about the other team, right? And it's not always even the team that wins you feel better about. In this game, I feel kind of worse about both teams. The Saints, just because they continue to Saints. And then the Lions, it's still like, man, you had this great start, and I feel like the Lions defense, they were able to get turned. And the Lions defense, to their credit, is able to make these like splash plays. But it almost feels like if they're going to go on a deep run, that's how they have to do it, right? Because like they give up points. They're going to have to be able to get a big play or two if they're going to beat Philadelphia or Dallas or a San Francisco in the playoffs.
Yeah, I just don't see it, man. I think they lost their juice, and I know there's been some defensive injuries there in the secondary, but I don't see how this team beats those teams right now unless something changes to end the season. I don't think this defense is good enough.
Well, here's how things could change: is they're in the hunt for a 1 seed. I mean, if they can go 5-0 down the stretch, and they get a little get some help, that would go a long way.
I mean, even like not looking at their schedule, do you think this team can go a clean 5-0 down the stretch?
I think looking at their schedule, possibly. I think that's again. I think 5 games left. You can look at to play Chicago, Denver, Minnesota twice, and then they play Dallas. And Dallas is going to be a tough one. But if they, so I'm not saying they're going to go 5-0. I'm just saying I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. They looked terrible against Chicago last time, and Denver might be a playoff team. I mean, heck, Minnesota
and beating a divisional rival twice, even if it is, who's going to be fighting for a playoff spot, isn't easy, and Dallas isn't easy either. So I'm not saying I wouldn't expect 5-0. I wouldn't. I think they probably end up at 3 seed and probably win a playoff game and get knocked out in round 2, which isn't a bad year for Detroit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens on the stretch. Obviously, like you said, the offense looked really good. They started awesome. That's what you want to build upon. I just don't know if I trust his defense. I guess, the moral victory for the Saints in this one, 4 for 4 in the red zone. That's a huge development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they finally get that going in the game. They still end up losing. Interesting stuff with those two teams. Let's move on. Why don't we? Let's stick with the NFC South. Why don't we? Falcons Jets. What a instant classic with this. We saw Tim Boyle get benched for Trevor Siemian. And I got to be honest, Tim Boyle was having a good Tim Boyle game. 14 for 25 for 148 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, that's what were you expecting if you're mad at that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, like obviously we knew the quarterback situation was bad with this team. We knew
Mhm.
it was happening. But like this this team was 4-3. Like when do
Yeah.
we like I know obviously the Rodgers thing sucks, but like when do we start to criticize a little bit of the performance here? Like does Robert Saleh and this whole staff just get a pass for basically falling apart when this team was, it wasn't pretty at times, and I didn't think they were one of the seven best teams, but they were getting some results, and now all of a sudden they look like a bottom feeder the last few weeks, and part of it was also going to this Tim Boyle and Trevor Siemian combination.
To me, that's the big criticism. Like, I think the reality is early on in the year they were getting turnovers and like those do kind of end up fluctuating and they were even scoring defensively, so I think that was part of it. And even like that Giants win, like Zach Wilson made like some crazy plays that allowed him to tie it. I agree though. It's like I'm not saying Zach Wilson is great. I think they might win this game with Zach Wilson out there.
I think so too.
And I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, they definitely win this game with Joe Flacco out there.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I mean,
Mhm.
we'll get to him in a second, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seems bizarre that we've gotten to this point. Like the Jets season is completely over now. And I mean,
Oh yeah.
the last couple weeks, this team has looked like one of the worst teams in the league, and maybe they were this whole time, and they just got a few wins under their belt, but like it is completely the floor is completely dropped from underneath this team.
On the other side, the Falcons are also looking really bad. I mean, they won the game, but and I actually thought so. Ritter's numbers are terrible. Actually, I played all right in this game. Like, I think there wasn't a lot of opportunities. Like, I don't know. I'm watching. We always talk about, oh man, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. They're both so good. Like, do we know they're good? Like, do we know Kyle Pitts is good? I know he had
You know,
51 yards in this. I thought there was plays that he could have made, and I wasn't really making them. Not really getting a lot of separation. I think Drake London is good, but like I thought Kyle Pitts, like, he's kind of just like a fine player.
yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't think it. I, I'm willing to entertain the conversation for it, but I mean, it's hard to know when it's like there's also, he's not the only guy that I feel like I'm being let down by here. So,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I think the Arthur Smith offense is playing a big part, and that's like questioning that. And so, I mean, he, I think he's better than what he's showing, but at the same, or what his numbers are. But at the same time, I don't know I don't know if he's going to be like a top tier tight end if he goes somewhere else.
Well, it's just weird where it's like kind of the thing of to Kyle Pitts though is like he wasn't just a tight end. He was just like a wide receiver tight end type thing, and it hasn't really. I thought done that. I don't know. You're right. I'm probably being too hard on because like he did have 1,000 yards as a rookie. The Arthur Smith thing has been a he doesn't like his stars. Whatever. I'm probably being too. It's probably unfair for me to say that. Jesse Bates is really good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's been a really good signing for them. Like,
Uh huh.
um,
Yeah.
they've had. I mean, even like there's been a few guys on this team that I thought have really stepped up. Some vets, and yeah, I mean, this defense has looked formidable. And part of our reason for kind of selling Atlanta was we were selling this defense preseason, and you could argue the defense has been much better than the offense this entire year.
Yeah. It's, Falcons somehow still with the inside track to win the division, despite only being the Jets by 5. There was a moment when it was looking like the Falcons were going to win by 2, and I locked up the Falcons minus 2.5. I was going to be very annoyed.
Yeah. I mean, Falcons, I mean, like you say all this stuff about how bad they look, but it's like they still play the Bucks, Saints, and Panthers once
Yeah.
each,
Hmm.
and they have the game lead. I mean, they could easily kind of put this thing away, but I just don't trust them.
Right. And they're currently 3-0 in the division, so obviously that tiebreaker could come into effect. We'll see, but yeah, it's weird. I mean, you can't really trust a lot of these teams. Let's finish off the NFC South with an NFC South matchup, a bloodbath between two high-powered offenses as somehow Baker Mayfield outduels Bryce Young in this one. Kyle, Mike Evans had over 80%. He ended the game with over 80% of the Buccaneers' total receiving yards.
That's pretty good.
Well, good or bad, depending on how you look at it.
He is pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
he's
Hmm.
continued to cement his Hall of Fame career, right? I mean, it's just
Hmm.
another fantastic season for him. He continues to look like the guy, and I think even like Rashad White's stat line, like they didn't even run the ball well. Like Rashad White had like 30 yards on like the last run of the game. Like it wasn't even that good of a rushing attack. I mean, this was a gross game. There was just some weird things in this one. Like there was a play, I think the Panthers up. I'm trying to remember it now. It's been a long day, guys. There was a play though, like they had the ball. There was like a 3rd and 4th and 1 situation, and they threw the ball twice on 3rd and 4th and 1, and one of them was like a deep pass. And I mean, they just had weird situations like that all the time, it feels like. And I don't know. I feel like the Panthers kind of let this one slip away. And, I know I had the lock on Tampa that I didn't even hit. But, obviously my draft positioning was playing a bigger part in this game for me.
Right. Yeah, I imagine. I mean, perfect scenario for me. My team won, and you missed the lock. This was a dream scenario for me. But I mean, yeah, right. That was the Panthers were down 3 at that point. Because like the Buccaneers, it's one of those things where I'm happy to get a win. I haven't celebrated a team win on a Sunday since week 4 because when they beat the Titans, I was on the cruise. So I'm very happy about just seeing us win and everything. But like, I mean. They were down like in the middle of the 3rd quarter against the Panthers, the worst team in football. Like this not instill confidence in that respect. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. Mike Evans is really good. That's most of what I have to say.
Yeah, he is, and I don't know.
Antoine Winfield's really good.
He is really good. I mean, this Buccaneers defense looked a lot better, but obviously you take it with a grain of salt against this Panthers offense. I think.
Yeah.
So the Panthers obviously, quite famously, do not have their 1st-round pick.
I've heard that.
Do you consider quarterback at 33 at this point? Do they have their 2nd-round pick?
I believe so. I think I would have heard about it if they got rid of that one. So, I mean, I don't know. It would depend on if there's like a Will Levis level prospect, like then sure. I don't think it's crazy, but I think almost at that point. Probably no, right? Because at that point, you're just go with your guy, and then if you suck, then you're going to get to pick 1st overall again next year. Yeah. So, like, I think probably if they were to have the 1st overall pick, I think it'd be worth to get another quarterback. If it's not going to be a great prospect anyway, you're probably better off just doing what you can to help Bryce Young. And if you stink, then okay, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, obviously, we've been pretty adamant that his help is pretty bad, but at the same time, like they had one good offensive game this year, and it was when Andy Dalton played quarterback. And maybe it's unfair to compare a rookie to. I mean, Andy Dalton's been in the league forever. Obviously, I think he could probably outperform almost any rookie at this point. In a 1-game situation. But yeah, I don't know.
Or not Bryce Young, except for CJ Stroud.
That's probably true. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. I think it's it certainly doesn't look promising. Like, I don't know. It's obviously it's a long time before we know who's committing to the draft, but like, I don't know if you watched any college football this weekend. Like if a Quinn Ewers is there, like I don't think I'd fault them for going for a guy like that.
Yeah, if there's the right player, sure. Just talk about just because I want to talk about the Buccaneers a little bit. Turns out it's a good idea to give Mike Evans and Chris Godwin the ball. Godwin had a nice run. Didn't have another catch though, so he's been kind of weird. I don't know what's going on with Godwin. I did say there was bad weather in this game too. So like you see that the first half there was only 10 points. There was more in the second half when the weather cleared up. That should be mentioned. And also, I didn't think Baker had a great day. Baker missed some throws. Did make a couple plays at the end, but this was not Baker's best day. So that's good. Get it out of your system now. Tampa Bay next week against Atlanta for the division lead. Somehow the Buccaneers could, a week from right now, we could be talking about the Buccaneers as leading the division.
Yeah, obviously there's still a couple of tough games down the stretch, but another one where all these division teams still play each other one time. So it's like you still have a shot here down the stretch. And, as much as we don't want to watch this division, it's going to create some drama down the stretch.
And I'm stuck. I got to watch all these teams because I want to see how my team's doing. So I'm watching all of them.
That's unfortunate.
The Panthers got eliminated from the playoffs today.
I was really holding out hope for them.
Yeah, unfortunately, did not happen for the Panthers. Let's move on. Let's go to the Thursday night game. Probably could have gotten this one earlier, even though it's a Thursday game. I feel like I usually wait on the Thursday because it's not quite as new. But this was an awesome game. This was maybe the game of the week.
Mhm.
The Cowboys, Seahawks at Seattle. An opportunity to get us, kind of get a signature win. But instead, it's Dak Prescott with his, I don't know, his Heisman moment, so to speak, his MVP moment. Him being able to get his team to a victory here against the Seahawks. The Dak Prescott MVP hype is real. I wouldn't hate it. And it's really him in CeeDee Lamb. Other guys are coming through and making plays, Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks, but really, I mean, it's not like it's not like, he's playing for San Francisco out there. Like Dak Prescott is a key part in what's making this offense work so well.
Yeah. I mean, they are aggressive throwing the ball downfield and consistently throwing the ball downfield, and he has a lot of his success doing it this season. And I think he deserves a ton of credit. I think Mike McCarthy, I think everybody under the sun basically criticized the decision to let Kellen Moore go and take over the play calling duties. And I mean, if you look at what Kellen Moore did today and look at what Mike McCarthy and this offense did on Thursday, I mean, it's pretty significant difference. So, you got to tip your cap to both of those guys. Like, I wouldn't hate Mike McCarthy for a Coach of the Year shout either.
Whoa, you've been saying this every year, though. I feel like every year you've been saying Mike McCarthy Coach of the Year.
Well, look, we keep saying, like, I felt like that since this guy has taken this job, we have said we're just waiting for him to get fired so they hire somebody else. And it's like every year he is kind of, doing well. Like, I don't think he's one of the best coaches in the league. I wouldn't put him like the top 3 coaches in football, but the results for these last 3 years from Mike McCarthy speak for themselves. Like we have to give credit to that at least.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, the Coach of the Year is weird because it's going to go to like D'Amico Ryans because no one expected the Texans to be good or something like that. Like, that's how it always goes. Instead of just giving it to the coach that we feel has done the best job. Like, I think Nick Sirianni should have an argument as well. I get what you're saying though. Like, I think he's such a meme that like people make fun of him. Like, you're right. I think he's been a good coach. He's a little weird.
Yeah, and obviously, the gaps that he does make are so just hilarious that it makes it better. But like, on a season to season basis, he's been a very good coach, and I think he deserves credit for that. Along with, we can make fun of him all we want, but we have to give credit when he does do well. I mean, this offense has done really well this season. CeeDee Lamb's just become a star. All that stuff's true. Big win for Dallas. I just, we saw them beat the crap out of all these bad teams, and this was definitely a step up in competition. They still answered the challenge and, dropped 40 on another team this season. I mean, it's just like this team has gotten 40 pretty routinely this season, and this offense is just rolling.
The concern, though, they gave up 35, and I think that's the one thing you look at is there, the Cowboys are supposed to be almost a defensive-minded team. Geno played well in this game, did have a turnover because, of course, Deron Bland has to get his interception on the year. DK Metcalf was huge in this game, and even Jackson Smith and Jigba, I thought, made some plays. But Seattle was able to hang with them, and I think that on one hand, it reminds us of what Seattle can be when they're at their best. On the other hand, though, it's like, I don't know. It was a disappointing day from the Dallas Cowboys defense. It was. I don't think I'm going to read too much into it. Like, that's defense in the NFL. You're not going to always be perfect. But I don't know. Now I'm kind of talking myself in circles. But I feel like, I don't know, quality loss for Seattle. We're going to talk a lot about quality losses this weekend, Kyle.
Yeah, and, I'm sure a team like Seattle doesn't want to take moral victories, but this did look like significantly better than what we've seen the past few weeks. And, for all the DK Metcalf criticism, he was one of the best players on the field in this game. Jackson Smith and Jigba had a few big plays. Geno looked a lot more sharp. So, yeah, I give Seattle a ton of credit for that. They certainly had an emphasis that they wanted to go after Deron Bland a little bit in this game. And he did get the interception. They also had a lot of success. So, there's the mixed bag there. And, I give credit to Seattle. I'm with you, though. I'm not overly worried about Dallas overall when it comes to the defense. But, I guess, if you're going to nitpick, like, this defense has looked good this season in the right situations, but they've also gotten pummeled by, Seattle and San Francisco.
Yeah, which a lot of teams would, but it's something to put a pin in, something to note, I think, and see how that goes as the season progresses. Playing Philadelphia next week, Dallas has chance to be leading the division, or what did they lead? I don't remember, but a chance to tie things up with Philadelphia. I believe they would, but I can double check. Let's move on. 3 games left to talk about. We have Browns, Rams, Dolphins, Balls, and Cardinals, Steelers. Let's go Browns, Rams. Joe Flacco, he was back, and he looked. I don't know. He was like a okay backup quarterback.
Yeah, he was fine. Like,
which is he has been as good as the Browns have been throwing out there all year.
I would agree with that. Like he had some good throws in this game, and early in this game he led a good touchdown drive. The weird one was like the late interception to John Johnson, like thrown right to him, and the Joe Flacco 10 years ago is getting that ball over John Johnson.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco now is definitely not doing that, and that was a little sad to watch. But at the same time, like you said, that was significantly better than anybody else they've thrown out there. That Deshaun Watson has had better games this year, but those backup quarterbacks have been, just legitimately damaging. And I thought he at least showed flashes of being competitive. But yeah, I mean, I think this game was a little closer than the scoreline indicated. Like Rams ran away with it at the end, but like Cleveland had some chances late to take a lead in this game.
I mean, the Browns had the game tied in the fourth quarter, and then their kicker missed an extra point. I mean, it was going to be tied. So, this was totally it was that interception that I thought once that happened, it went off the rails. So for the Browns, a team trying to make the playoffs, this feels like sucks to lose, but it feels like a step in the right direction. They're probably going to lose to Jacksonville next week as well, but you still have Chicago, the Jets, and the Bengals on the schedule. It's possible that Joe Flacco makes the playoffs with the Browns. Who would have thought? But for the Rams, Matt Stafford played very well. He still had like a play or two of that, classic Matt Stafford wonkiness, but for the most part, played really good. And it's one of those. Yeah, I can't help but think about 2 years ago, if the Rams get in and Matt Stafford gets hot at the right time, like I wouldn't want to play him.
Yeah. I agree. And, this receiving core has looked really good this season. And, I wouldn't want to face this offense specifically, like you said, because Stafford on a heater is tough to defend. And not only that, it's with this, Nakua Cup and, I mean, Demarcus Robinson of all people in this game. They just have, it feels like a lot more weapons than it should be when you look at the roster.
And Kyron Williams.
Yeah, I mean, he's looked really good this year. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So, I mean, at this point, we have the Vikings, the Packers, the Rams, the Seahawks, and then I'm not including those NFC South teams. I'm sorry to Buccaneers, Saints people. But yeah, I mean, could you argue that 4 of those teams are battling for 2 spots? Who would you argue are the best 2 right now? Would you say Rams, Packers?
So we're talking. So it's Seattle Rams, Packers, and Vikings.
Yes.
I think I would put Seattle probably. I think Seattle and Green Bay would probably be my 2 picks.
I think I agree with that. But the big thing is the Rams do have that tiebreaker because they beat them twice.
I think the Rams and Packers are my picks to get in. I'm just saying if you're talking about the best teams, I think I would put Seattle over the Rams.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. But we just saw what I thought was the best game of Seattle season, and they still lost it. So we'll see what happens down the stretch.
Yeah. Interesting stuff with these 2 teams trying to make the playoffs and looked okay this week. Let's talk about one team that looked better than okay and one team that looked a lot worse. Kyle, Ron Rivera, our guy, Ron Rivera, does he watch football? That's my question.
Clearly not Tyreek Hill. He might have been pulling an Urban Meyer and saying, who's this number 10 guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is some questionable defensive play call, but I feel like I see this once every few weeks with Tyreek Hill. There was another game this season where the Dolphins had this happen. I think it was the Giants too, where why would you ever have press man coverage with no safety help over the top?
But at least they didn't do it twice.
That's true. They only made the mistake once. I will give you that.
And at least didn't put on one of them their rookie slot corner on Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. Yeah, it was rough. And I don't know, like this Tyreek Hill thing is just amazing. It's inevitable week after week. I mean, what is this guy's overall numbers now? I gotta pull it up here.
Yeah, well, I can't tell if it's. I'll let you pull that up. I thought Tua. Well, the thing about it, here's what makes the Dolphins so great, right? Is you have Tyreek Hill, who you have to play two safeties deep. You have to cover deep. You have to make sure you don't let them get anything down the field. But Tua is so good at picking apart over the middle and underneath and all that stuff. So it's like it's one of those things where I think logically you almost think like the better fit is Mahomes with Tyreek Hill because best deep ball receiver. Let's get the best deep ball thrower and make that work. In a weird way, I almost wonder if Tua is like the better fit, just in the sense of like, obviously Mahomes is better than Tua, but just in the sense of like, it almost, they complement each other so well in that sense. It's a complete offense with just those two guys on the field.
They've certainly maximized Tua's skill sets and Tyreek Hill's kind of game-changing speed, right? Like they've just maximized that to the full extent. And like I think Jalen Waddle's also pretty underrated, like just across the middle guy too, which also works with Tyreek Hill. So they have all of this stuff kind of working in their favor. And
also Tyreek Hill's a really good over the middle guy.
Yeah, I mean, he is good at that too, I should say that. So I mean, they have all that, and then it's also like, oh, Devin Achane can run for, can break an 80-yard run on any play. So it's just incredible. So, I mean, at this point, Tyreek Hill is at 12 games. He's at 93 catches on 127 targets for 1,481 yards and 12 touchdowns. His personal career high is 1,710 yards, which he did in 17-game season. I mean, he may end up breaking that by the next game. I mean, it's incredible what he's doing. I mean, this run is just amazing.
I mean,
MVP.
the 2,000, there's MVP talk. The 2,000 yards is a real conversation. He still has to get basically over 100 yards a game, which would be, he's done that so far. To play the Titans, I think he's going to have to get some yards in that game, because then you play the Jets, Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills. I would say 3 really good defenses and 1 solid defense in Buffalo. So, I think it's possible 2,000 yards. I don't think it's a guarantee just yet.
I would agree with that, but I don't know if I don't even know, like, unless you can clone Christian Gonzalez and give him a healthy knee, like, I don't know who's stopping him.
Yeah, only Christian Gonzalez, the Tyreek Hill stopper. Washington's terrible.
Yeah.
They're the worst team in football right now. Tim Boyle would light them up.
No, the Patriots are still the worst team in football. We have no quarterbacks, but
That's
true.
I
mean, this team. They're
the worst defense in
a few
football.
weeks ago. Yeah, I would agree with that. They can't cover, and now they can't rush the passer anymore. That's a pretty bad combination for modern football. That's my analysis. You usually want to be like okay at one of those things. They're bad at both. So
and poorly.
But anywho. Yes, and I think Ron Rivera, like if he were, I would not question if he were fired tomorrow, because this was a pretty despicable performance. Sam Howell looked horrible in this game. They apparently forgot Terry McLaurin's on the team, and that's also an issue. I know he was going against Jalen Ramsey and company in this game, but like there is a lot of not great vibes, it feels like, for Washington, and they can't even blame Dan Snyder for it anymore.
Yeah. Also, I didn't realize in 2 weeks the Balls play the Jets, so we could get on Christmas Eve. We could get a Tim Boyle versus and maybe Rodgers is back. Although I guess Tim Boyle's done, right? Simeon's the guy. So I don't know.
Guess.
Who knows? It'll be interesting. It won't be interesting. Let's move on. Cardinals. Speaking of not interesting, Cardinals Steelers. Kyle, this might be an all-time bad game to go to live. I mean, it was raining all day. There was several weather delays, and on top of it, the home team got destroyed by the Cardinals. I mean, which was a game that and the starting quarterback got injured. So my hearts go out to the Steelers. fans who great fan base. I love there was a sign in that someone said like I'm here for James Conner. It's like only Steelers, only like this crazy like fan bases like the Steelers would be like we are here to see a running back who had like one like good year for us who's now on another team. Like we miss him so much.
Yeah. Show up in my Willie Parker jersey for the next game. Yeah. Is football the absolute worst weather delay sport? That's my opinion.
Interesting. Well, I feel like I don't know. Why? Because it's football and baseball are the only two, right? I mean, unless
I guess soccer too. And
okay. Well, I don't. The only two that I watch.
Yeah, I guess here's my thing. Like, I feel like football, especially like fan like going to a football game, because there's so much like stoppage, just natural stoppage in football between plays and all that. It's basically just all about fan energy. And when you just suck away the fan energy because the game has to stop, like I feel like that just kind of ruins everything.
That's true. In baseball, there's already no fan energy, so you're fine there.
Yeah, it's kind of the same, and I would even say rain increases the fan energy.
Yeah, you might be. Yeah, actually, yeah. I've been to a couple, obviously not from Tropicana, but I've been to a couple of rain delays in other stadiums. Like, yeah, it's usually kind of fun because they're like, oh, we don't have to watch baseball. This is great.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, this was a weird game, like you said, because of all that, and then obviously, the Kenny Pickett situation, which it seems like he's going to be on an extended stretch. I'm concerned about the Pittsburgh Steelers for the next for the rest of the season. I don't think Mitch Trubisky is not the answer, and obviously this is going to be a problem down the stretch of the year.
Yeah. I also have to say, so I usually look at the stats. I just do the NFL on Google, and like it comes up with the box score stats. I guess the NFL on YouTube posted a video of a fumble with the title "Every Day I'm Fumbling." What are we doing here, NFL? Every day I'm fumbling. That's in the year 2023. That's your title for a video.
Some like 35-year-old who was a social media manager posted that and thought it was really funny.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. That's very, very. How do you do, fellow kids? Anthony brings up. Did you know that the Bears could have drafted Mahomes?
They could have drafted Mahomes, but how do we know Mahomes was going to be good? He didn't win in college.
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky. If he was with the Chiefs, he would be just as good as Mahomes is.
I can see it.
Yeah, I think 100%. I don't know. I don't know what to do with this. The Steelers are weird. They're going to make the playoffs still somehow. They're weird.
Are they?
It's possible. If they beat the Colts in 2 weeks, then yes.
I guess so. Like that's basically the season. But if it's Trubisky in that game, like I know they'll have 10 days rest, but
I don't know if Trubisky's worse than what Kenny Pickett's done this year.
I mean, I know they had the fourth down goal line stand thing in this game, but like I thought there was some real momentum to Pittsburgh's offense the last couple of weeks, and obviously the Canada thing may be referenced in this. But I thought there was some better performances the last couple of weeks, and especially since Deontay Johnson's come back, and I don't know, I'm just not confident of that anymore. Like it's not obviously a top like 15 offense, but I thought it was better than what we had seen before.
Play the Patriots next week. That on Thursday, actually. In a few days, Patriots Steelers. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we cannot watch.
That's one. I think is that the one we're gonna boycott. I mean, it's your team, so are you really? Can you boycott it?
I probably won't boycott it, but I'm not going to be excited by it.
Okay, I'm gonna call for on the sidelines boycott for Patriots Steelers Thursday night game.
That's fine. We can watch. I think that's an in-season tournament night. That might be the semifinals. So
okay, yeah. Well, everyone watch basketball. I'll watch basketball tonight. We'll try that.
Yeah, I'll have it on like my iPad or something because I'm a sicko and have to watch the Patriots. But we can watch basketball. I'm down.
All right, Kyle. That is our show. Didn't even bring up the headline of the show. I mean, all of a sudden I'm back. It's only the picks. Currently, I'm only down 1 point. All of a sudden.
Yeah, not my best week. It's okay. Kind of, eliminated the cushion that I had last week. So it is what it is. We battle. We rise. We'll be fine.
Although I still have to, Jaguars got to win tomorrow, but I feel okay about that happening. Kyle, I want to get your thoughts before we head out of here. Well, first, let them know they can find us on Twitter before we talk some college football.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. And make sure to follow the account page. That is at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcast, search On the Sideline anywhere you get your podcast. It should show up there. Let's talk some college football for a second, because a lot of people were angry at this stuff, and I kind of get it. I don't know. College football is it's not a real sport. It's a fake sport.
Yeah. It's a weird situation. I think that I think it's a sport that has kind of lost its identity in a major way, and I think it's really unfortunate to see it kind of unfold, because I don't know, like the whole thing for college football was the rivalries, the passion, and kind of that regional kind of allure of the game. And I just feel like week by week, year by year, that just slowly dies.
Mm-hmm.
We are watching these conferences basically eat each other. It's the strongest of the fittest now, and this is all basically navigated by television companies. These television companies are the biggest proponents to these expanding conferences, and to the eventual point where we're going to get, where we are going to have the Fox Sports College Football Conference, which is the Big Ten, and we are going to have the ESPN College Football Conference, which is the SEC. And eventually that is basically all that's going to be left, because we had Friday night, we had the very last Pac-12 football game of eternity. Pac-12's done. No, the Pacific Coast Conference is basically dead as we know it. All of those schools are moving next season, right? The ACC is basically on his very last breath. And what they told the ACC today is that your undefeated Power 5 champion, who beat 2 SEC teams this season, isn't good enough to make the playoff. The ACC is dead. Like, Florida State's going to go to a bigger conference. Clemson's eventually going to go to a bigger conference. Miami's going to go to bigger conferences. And then the other schools are going to go by the wayside. And all of these sports, all of these teams are basically going to die. And it's going to be the survival of the fittest. And those big programs, which, they have a lot of passion. They have a lot of history. They're very cool. They're very fun teams to watch. Those are going to be the only teams that left. And it's going to ruin this entire sport. Everything that we love about this sport, the passion behind your alma mater's victory and losses, is just going to be gone. And this isn't going to be a fun sport to watch. It's going to be mini NFL, which is what nobody wants, because, you watch college basketball is dead for the same reason, because they've tried to make this game more like the NBA, and it's not fun because these kids aren't very good. They're going to try and make this game more like the NFL, and these kids aren't very good yet. They're still developing, and it's not going to be a very fun product to watch. And it's sad to see what's happening to the sport, and how they just slowly are trying to decimate themselves in a desperate attempt for television dollars. That's all it's coming down to, is television dollars is the only thing driving this entire motion.
It feels like they're well said by you. I don't know every point to what you made, because I'm not a huge college fan, but it sounded interesting. It was good stuff. I feel like they're just, for me, again, I'm not an expert in this. It feels like they kind of have this 1 foot in, 1 foot out stuff. Of like we're a sport, but we're also about like it's all about the players and the school and all that stuff. And it's like, either we're a league and we're going to pay the players and we're going to, and this is what it is, and it's a real league, and wins matter and all that stuff, or this is student athletics and we're not going to treat it like it's a professional league.
And that's what it's always been. Like, the NCAA, nobody takes the NCAA seriously anymore, because they don't really know what they are anymore. They don't know if they're a student athlete run organization or they're a sports organization, and they don't really know how to handle that differentiating a thing. And we have, coaches getting suspended for like buying kids burgers, but then also we can pay the players for like a burger sponsorship. Like, all of this stuff has just gotten weird and uncontrollable, and I'm all for these kids getting paid. I think that's a very good thing, but there's just this weird spot where we don't really know who's in charge anymore. And at this point, it just seems like ESPN and Fox are in charge. And I think that's the biggest problem that we've had. But yeah, I mean, as far as the committee goes in this thing, like, to me, like, I will hear the argument that, you know what, Tate Rodemaker is starting a football game for Florida State. I don't think that's one of the best 4 teams. But you also didn't take into account when 2014 Ohio State, their quarterback gets hurt towards the end of the season. Cardale Jones wins the national championship as the backup quarterback. You didn't hurt Ohio State in that regard when they won the national championship with their backup quarterback. You gave them the chance still to compete in that playoff. You know, you didn't hurt the TCU team when their power ratings last year weren't that good. Like I know they won their semifinal game. They were still probably the 4th best team in that group, and their power ratings were not a top 4 team. You didn't punish them for having bad power ratings, and you also didn't punish a team like Cincinnati a few years ago when they went undefeated and they had a poor strength of schedule with only one ranked opponent. You didn't punish them for that one, but for some reason they decided this Florida State team, because it was an SEC team on the other side of the equation, was the one that was going to get punished for this entire equation.
Right. And it's like, if you want to say they're not a top 4 team, but they're probably not a top 5 team either, right? Like, I think that's like, they're probably not better than Georgia if we're going to use that argument. So I don't understand either. Either you're saying who had the most impressive season, in which case they did. I don't know. I watched the end of that Florida State game. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, they're gonna they're gonna make the the playoff. They, quarterback got injured. They still found a way to battle, and like that's a cool thing that happened. I don't want then someone else to come in and say, actually, I don't think you're good enough. We're gonna make it to some, like, that's not, for me. That's not why I want to watch this sport. It basically, to me, feels like the regular season didn't even matter because it's, well, let's just put Alabama in. And I'm not saying that they're not a top 4 team. I'm just saying, like, it's annoying. Yeah,
I agree. And that's why, this 12-team playoff, I think, will help that a little bit. But at the same time, like, this was the one sport for American sports where regular season actually mattered. Like, it was the only thing that mattered. And you know what teams cared about? Winning their rivalry game, winning a conference championship, and then getting invited to a bowl game. Those were the only things that really ever mattered for college sports for such a long time. Now this playoff has kind of distorted all of that. And now this situation has kind of distorted all of that, where, the 80% of the college football teams now have 0 to play for before the season even starts. They don't even need to play the games. Like, literally, there's 133 Division I football teams, and I would say 120 of them do not matter anymore. And the only rivalry game, like, all of these rivalry games used to be really important. The only one we actually care about who a rival wins anymore is Michigan and Ohio State. Everything else just does not matter. It's just down to who are the last 4 teams at the end of the year. And you could probably predict those teams to start the season anyways. So it's just, it's weird to see what this sport is now compared to what it used to be.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that being said, I'm certainly going to still be watching every playoff game, even though I don't care about college football that much, and I'm going to watch the championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be the comeback. Right? Well, yeah, that's always going to be the comeback, is you're going to watch these games. And you know what? I'm probably going to watch USC play Penn State next year in a Big Ten college football game. But that doesn't mean I have to love this situation.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, just a weird situation. Should they just, I don't know. What if they just got rid of the national championship?
And just did a bunch of bowl games that the computers analyzed and spit out a formula and then ranked it at the end of the season?
No, just like there's no national champion.
They've done similar things where a lot of teams would claim national championships, basically.
Florida State should claim a national championship. 100%.
Well, the funny thing is, after all this, is like, there's a lot of Florida State fans criticizing UCF people for claiming the 2017 national championship. And now they have the opportunity to do it on the other side and be on that side. And it would be pretty funny if they try to claim a national championship after.
I'm always in favor of, if you're undefeated, you should, I just think, either give them their own national championship game to play in, or, like, if you go undefeated, you should. The way sports should work is that if you win every game, you should have a chance to win a championship if there's a championship, right? That doesn't seem like a crazy take.
No, it's not. And I mean, there have been years in the past, you can go back to like I think it was the Urban Meyer year at Utah when he was at Utah that I think they went undefeated, but there was 3 undefeated teams that year or something like that. So
Okay.
they couldn't play for the championship.
Mm-hmm.
I could be misremembering that. That was like 20 years ago at this point. But, there was things like that. And, I also I understand because this was a really weird year where I didn't feel like watching college football this year that there was a great team. I just didn't. I didn't think anybody really separated themselves from the pack. Georgia, the last couple of years, had separated itself from the pack. They looked way
Mm-hmm.
better than everybody else. I didn't think watching anybody this year that I was like, this team is way better than everybody else. And at the end of the year, we had 4 undefeated teams. No, sorry, 3 undefeated teams, and then a bunch of one-loss teams that all looked really good too. Like, I could honestly say that at their best this season, that I thought Texas and Oregon looked like the best 2 teams. But they didn't play their best in every game, and then they both lost, But I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I think that I think any one of these 4 teams are capable of winning the national championship. But I also thought 5 and 6 were perfectly capable of winning the national championship. So it's just a weird year.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see with the 12 team. I guess it's better. It is better, but I still feel like I don't know. It's there's still gonna be frustration there, but that should if I feel like either have it just be 2 teams and have that be the national championship, or go to 12. I think that 12 could make. I think I don't know. I'm willing to see how that works.
There's been a lot of people that have argued that like an expanded playoff is a good thing, but 4 was the worst number.
Yeah.
Because there's always usually at least 5 good teams. So,
Uh huh.
I think like 16 could have worked, I think anything but 4, but
Yeah.
that
Well,
was
and the
Mike
idea is
Leach's
if there's
big thing.
usually 5 or 6 good teams, also let's make it 12, so that way like we're guaranteeing they get in basically.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see. I think both of those games are going to be compelling. Alabama does have a shot to winning this national championship, but
That's gonna be hilarious when
it
Alabama wins it all.
it would be so frustrating if they win it at this point. Like, it's just so disgusting.
Uh huh.
But they could very well win this thing. I don't trust their quarterback though. Like, I still think Texas is going to beat their butt if they match up in the championship again. I don't think anything's changed since that game in September. Texas stops to
Interesting.
run really well, and Alabama's quarterback can't throw. So I don't know. We'll see. There's still a lot. They have to get past Washington, who has 3 NFL wide receivers too. So
Hmm.
that's a big matchup problem.
Interesting. Well, yeah. Fun stuff. Frustrating stuff, but fun stuff. Yeah. Kyle, any final thoughts before we head out?
No, I did my rant. I got heated, so
It was
we
good.
can get
Great
out.
stuff.
Yeah. You know, college football. I've loved this sport for so long. I don't know how much longer I'm going to love it like this. It's tough to watch this get decimated by TV networks.
Man,
The
so sad.
ESPN work this week was just completely shameful. Like,
What was it? I didn't see it.
it's just all week. I think I saw Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, or Paul Feinbaum on at least 5 or 6 different shows over the week, and including the SEC on ESPN stuff over the weekend and over the game stuff. And it's just like every one of those coaches and SEC deserves 2 teams, all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, I don't think I saw one single interview for Steve Sarkisian, the Texas coach. I don't think I saw one interview for not Kenny Dillingham, Dan Lanning, the Oregon coach, or the Kalen DeBoer, the Washington coach. For, hey, Kalen DeBoer, I know your team went undefeated and looked like one of the best teams in football all year. Did you deserve it if you lost one game? Nobody brought that up. It was just all SEC, SEC, SEC. It was shameful. I thought it was really gross what happened. I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't. Maybe just give it. Go to a bar, just ask a guy, and then let that person decide which 4 teams make it.
Oh man, yeah. There's been a lot of Mike Leach quotes circling for today. He had some great thoughts on the 4-team playoff, and I encourage anyone to go listen to those. Mike Leach, rest in peace, one of the greats.
Okay. Well, yeah. Again, good stuff, Kyle. Let's get out of here. Thanks everybody for listening. We had a good show today. I think we had close to 250 concurrent viewers at one point. So lively chat.
Yeah, a lot to talk about. So it's fun time of the year. Season's heating up. We got 5 weeks to go after this, so should be fun down the stretch.
Didn't have to bring that up.
Hey man, it's got to happen eventually.
I guess so. All good things must come to an end, but it's yeah. Usually, I feel like the season kind of slows down around this part, but it's just I feel like it's just getting more interesting.
I mean, we have 4 teams in the AFC within a game of each other, basically for the 1 seed, and then debatably the 3 best teams in football are also competing for the 1 seed in the NFC. I mean, this is great
Disrespect
stuff.
to the Lions.
No, I see them over there.
Okay, well, but still, we have in both conferences 4 teams within a game of the 1 seed.
Yeah, and then we have like 7 teams in the AFC competing for a wildcard spot, and then we have 4 teams in the NFC competing for 2 wildcard spots. There's so much to play for at this stretch of the year, and then the NFC South, which you don't have to watch, but 3 teams are there.
4 teams are there. The Panthers are also a team there.
Are we sure? No.
Yes, they are officially they play football for 60 minutes most Sundays.
All right, fine. We'll include the Panthers too.
Okay. Let's see. You should pay Kyle to do basketball videos on your channel when NFL season's over. Kyle refuses to do any YouTube stuff other than this.
The problem is that I have to go and learn all this stuff and then execute the videos, and that's more time than
He has to take a Sunday to learn how to do it.
I know, right? Too difficult.
You go to instead on Thursday watch the Patriots play the Steelers instead of learn how to do I don't know, use Sony Vegas Pro.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know.
All right, well, good. Thank you to everybody. We do appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.